Should we do the interview then?
Yes.
I think it would be great if we could do it in here on 2 chairs. Would you agree?
Oh, you need chairs.
Yeah.
And also, I'd like some water.
Water and coffee?
No, I've had too much coffee. Just sparkling water. If
Sparkling
you can do
water. Okay.
Hi.
Okay, so should we do the sound check?
Yes. All's good. How long have you had these tennis shoes?
Quite a while.
20 years?
No, maybe maybe 6 years.
The new Puma. They're leather.
Leather?
Yes, they're like old shoes already. The trouble is the Velcro thing comes off sometimes.
Oh, really?
That's the problem with Velcro.
Okay, should we sit in here then? Okay.
Let's also talk about Dag Hammarskjöld.
Oh, did you see the new movie about the conspiracy theory?
But he was gay.
Oh, okay.
That's you probably didn't know that. He secretly had lovers.
Oh, that I did not know.
Oh, yes, he was gay.
Okay, so then, thank you for coming. This is the first interview, like formal interview I've ever met with you, because I've met you so many times and asked you so many questions, and you have enlightened me so many times, but we never recorded it. So I thought this would be a nice opportunity.
I know that you work part-time as a psychological counselor to your artists, and it's free, the consultation.
It is free for the artist of the gallery.
Also, when I come for a session, do I get the pieces of candy?
Pieces of candy, and you need like a Kleenex or something. You just say.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to ask you about if you remember your first art experience as a child.
Well, I knew nothing about art when I came into having a gallery. You won't believe this. First artist I thought I liked was actually Nicholas de Stael, who did soccer players. And my wife Mieko told me he committed suicide. He was successful and then he committed suicide. I've had moments when I tried suicide, but I think success was difficult for him. Also, I found out later he was a terrible artist. So I liked really bad artists.
That was the first artist you recognized as being an artist.
That's actually true. It's a true story. Also, I played soccer myself in junior high school. I was defenseman, but it's because I came from a very poor community, and they school couldn't afford American football armor equipment.
That leads me to the next question then. How was life as a teenager?
Life, I was a bit of a loner. My passion was actually baseball cards.
As a teenager?
No, this is as a kid.
As a kid, okay.
As a teenager, I really loved rock and roll, and I loved going into New York City from the poor area I was from to buy things for my stamp collection when I was younger. Also, I loved something called Tad's steak, very low quality steak.
Okay, so you came from New Jersey?
Yeah, not even suburbs, the very edge of the suburbs, in a kind of almost an army barracks area where people who worked in shipyards were housed during World War II.
And how often would you go to Manhattan as a teenager?
Well, this is even younger than being a teenager. First to buy stamps for my stamp collection. Second, to buy these cheap steaks at a place called Tad's. But the big show windows in New York City were important. But very early, I was reading Walter Benjamin. It was a very big influence. Also, there's a magazine called Mad Magazine, which maybe you experienced.
Of course, I remember that.
I think Tim Burton also was very influenced by Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
And I think that was my culture.
Hubert Neumann?
Well, actually, Newman.
Newman.
And actually, the gay candidate for Democratic nomination, Trump said he looked like Alfred Newman. so Pete said, well, that proves that Trump actually reads.
Okay. What is the original source of inspiration for your pavilions? We're sitting in one of them.
Well, I'm not sure it's a pavilion, but inspiration was very obvious for me. I wanted to combine telephone booths, bus shelters with Mies van Rohe's Barcelona pavilion. And the interesting thing about Barcelona Pavilion is like what you see at the Venice Biennale. It represented the Weimar Republic, Germany. So every country has its own pavilion, its own favorite artist, biggest artist of that country.
Do you have any advice for teenagers today?
I would say do not, if you're seeing a psychiatrist, as I was at one point, do not use drugs that have bad side effects. I was given Thorazine, so stay away from psychiatric drugs. Also, do not worship Taylor Swift. She's basically only in it for the money.
Okay.
She's not my favorite, although I think we all have idols who come from Disney shows. Mine was Annette Funicello.
Is there anything you advise teenagers to do while they are teenagers?
I would say travel to Denmark and stay in a youth hostel. When I was teaching in Germany, I went to Denmark because I heard Scandinavia had wild, open sexual situations. I think traveling and youth hostels are okay.
Yeah. Okay. So travel to youth hostels. Yeah. Okay. So let's see.
Also, find out what's positive about your astrological sign. You have to think about yourself positively.
Yeah.
I like the fact astrology deals with stereotypes, and I think my work deals with cliches and stereotypes. Also, I was almost a hippie, a fellow traveler hippie. We hippies believed we were at the end of the age of Pisces, the beginning of the age of Aquarius. So these almost beliefs, which we had astrological reasoning behind them, are actually important as they pass through being the edge of being a hippie. Also, when I started teaching, it was a very good way to know the students at first, and also as a very awkward about meeting girls. It's a good way to open conversation.
Okay, I see. And that's the reason why you always ask for people's birthdays first time you meet them?
Somebody my age, we meet waitresses usually, or I should say people in the service industry, women particularly in what we would call the service industry. The fact is, I guess it's also like being an amateur psychologist. If you know what the sign is, you know, I know that Kim Gordon, who's worshipped by everyone, when I first met her, she was a Taurus. She said, "Dan, I'm a Taurus. I can only be close to people psychologically and be a helpmate." And I knew when I about to initiate a sexual relationship with her, she said, "Dan, this is my downfall." So in other words, I know that Tauruses love to work. They love to do pleasure after work. But actually, that was her biggest asset. She does amazingly good interviews based on her psychological insights with famous artists.
You know I'm a Taurus.
Well, I know that that you were a party animal. You told me that. But now you're a father. You settled down, and you integrated being a party animal into a normal Danish domesticity.
That's right.
But also, I know you're a great dealer because you understand that collectors have needs, psychological needs. It's something that people don't realize. Of course, sometimes they buy art to be close, particularly they're willing to be close to the artist. But also, art is usually placed outside on their lawn, and it's important that people are able to see it through the window, because guests can see it that way by looking through the window.
Yeah.
And also, the child's play area has to be respected. Also, the barbecue area, and also the kind of dynamics of family life are definitely part of the work. And I see now my way of having works done in big exhibitions is I say they're fun houses for children and photo opportunities for parents. So I know how to what they call pitch my work. Since I had an unhappy childhood, I really love places where people can have happy childhood situations.
And that's what you try to create with your pavilions.
Most people on the left do not like shopping malls. But the great thing about shopping malls is grandparents can sit down and be part of watching people have nice interactions.
Yeah.
Also, I always want benches. If the work, also for my work, it's important that people lie down inside and outside. So I think my work is somewhat impressionist. You know, I used to hate impressionists. Peter Fischley, artist, told me my work is close to Georges Seurat's Le Grand Chat, because he could tell people lying down outside of the circus situation are working class because their clothes are stiff and they just got enough from work. So maybe this takes me back to childhood. Also, first books I read when I was a pre-teenager was Margaret Mead. That's how I became a feminist. I think my work is kind of anthropological. It's about the family structure. Yes, I had a very unhappy young family situation.
Okay.
But I think collectors, for the most part, do have families. They're not crazy loners.
What do you think have had the most influence on Western culture, the hippies or the punks?
I like the way things change from decade to decade. And my rock and roll puppet show is about 1970, when hippies moved to the country, the first Neil Young album. And more my work has become period pieces. That's what I love about the new film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Tarantino. It's about a certain period in Los Angeles. So I guess I'm an observer of different period pieces. I think for all of us, our generation, being almost hippies but not really being hippies was pretty important, right?
Yeah.
But for men, for some reason, men I know, powerful men in the art world, they're all in love with Kim Gordon.
They're all in love with
Kim Gordon.
Okay.
I won't mention names.
Can you tell about your relation with Sonic Youth?
Well, I got an apartment for Kim Gordon in a kind of Chinatown ghetto slum, and Thurston moved in, and I had Thurston had keys to my place where he borrowed my records, and I had keys to his place. He was as a Leo, he had an enormous file on Patti Smith, so I got a lot of my information for rock religion from just going downstairs and looking at his files. I see him as a great producer, and I kind of pushed Kim into writing, which I think is the kind of genius she had. And so I'm very proud of being a friend of Thurston's, and somebody who kind of instigated a great aspect of Kim Gordon's writing. Of course, I've also observed what happened as she became full of herself as a celebrity, and Thurston now I really worry about because he's very isolated. So we men worry about other men who are under attack by women's magazines. Although I have a certain relation with women's magazines, my father used to read Ladies' Home Journal. There was a column called "Tell Me Doctor," which is how he learned about how women think.
That's brilliant.
And fashion magazines, I've been photographed in fashion magazines, met fashion designers, taken ideas from fashion, and done interviews. And I realize now, in remote places like South America, where I travel, I'm admired by young women artists from those countries who've probably seen me on the internet or from the fashion magazines. It's a very strange situation for me. It's kind of unbelievable. I have to credit Mieko, my wife, for cutting my beard just the right way.
Yeah, I can tell.
So it photographs well.
It's really well cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called having a stylist. But also, I kind of really miss, most of all, being in these very large European exhibitions where I can actually have conversations with artists who fellow artists who I feel very close to.
Talking about institutions, do you have an advice for people visiting museums and galleries?
I think museums have been changing every decade, which people haven't realized. The idea of critiquing a museum doesn't make sense, because I really love museums. We all know about Louisiana. It was a good place for fairly bourgeois families or young people who are dating to lie down outside in the grass. near work. So I think the lying down near large outdoor work is very important. I think lower middle class groups, family groups, driving in cars to touristic cities. We have outdoor exhibitions like Documentary and Castle or Munster. I think those shows are a mixture of education, entertainment. I think that's more important than you're going to Euro Disney. And I know at the very end of the 70s, money came from an education program for children. So I conceived probably my best piece, What of the Sunset at Hayward Gallery, as a kind of mezzanine situation for involving cartoons and also making a section where you can make your own Liechtensteins for the education program. Now I'm afraid museums are all spectacle, like corporations. But I still think they're evolving every moment. And of course I have great memories of what a great museum Modern Musette was. Now, unfortunately, the shows are about fashion designers I don't really like that much. I just think museums are great. I don't understand why people should critique museums.
Can you talk a little about the so-called institutional critique that you're touching a little bit?
I don't understand it. It seems very much indebted to sociology. My ideas come from anthropology more than sociology. Secondly, in terms of Andrew Fraser, it's a misunderstanding of Michael Asher. Michael's work was closer to Flavin. It's about Armada Clark. It's about architecture and light, and it's just a kind of a simplification. I think I put Buren in the same category. I think he took a lot from Flavin, and the work is problem in France, because I was teaching in France. The students are very over logical because they're taught Cartesian logic, whereas I think art for students and artists comes out of childhood memories, childhood memories and emotional issues. Well, look at Norway, Munch. I heard his biggest issue was his sister.
What's his?
His sister, apparently, there were some problems between him and his sister. I actually think Andrew Fraser is quite dangerous. It's called oversimplification. But art is full now of oversimplification.
Oh yeah, I have one more question. Why did you originally start your gallery?
I was a social. I was what they call a slacker. I wasn't doing anything. I had two friends who were into social climb. They were reading in magazines like Esquire magazine. What a great social life you could have if you had an art gallery. I had nothing to do, so I became director of the gallery. I wanted to be a writer, and in the first show was a Christmas show. Anybody who came into the gallery I showed. One person I showed was Saul LeWitt. Saul was a writer I loved, Michel Boutrour. He hated Robert, who Don Judd liked. Saul kept saying that goddamn romantic. So I bonded with artists in terms of writing. Also the artists I knew, like Lawrence Weiner, Carl Ender, they were basically writers, artists like I was, artist writers. Also, it was some of the group shows I did, like Plastics, had some of these artists, like Flavin. So I learned, actually, by having this gallery and meeting artists, this is how I learned about art. Just talking to it and being with artists, and we share certain things together. At the moment, I share with Rodney Graham rock and roll history. I think some artists in Europe, they all love soccer and play soccer together. I know that Sigmund Polka, when I first met him, was watching soccer on TV and screaming about that. So I think artists' hobbies are pretty important. Anyway, for me, it turned out to be a way to meet artists. The gallery collapsed. It certainly was not a great gallery, but I think out of mistakes and failures come very interesting beginnings.
Can you describe the relation to Gallery Nicolai Wallner in Copenhagen?
It was recommended to me that I join the gallery, but the Jappe behind, was incredibly perceptive. I was in a group show. He was working for Ulf Eliasson, and he saw a work of mine. Wasn't really a work; it was a drawing called, which was architecture plan for fashion designer Lisa Bruce, and he just saw. He thought this was absolutely amazing work, and I guess he was looking at artists' work that he liked a lot, and maybe because he was a Leo, Leos are very good producers, so maybe he was trying to produce not only for me but also for your gallery a new possible situation. Of course, hi. Of course, you had great people working for the gallery.
That's true. I still have.
And that was deliberate, right?
Yeah.
It was a lure. I just need some water.
Yeah. We give you some water.
That's enough.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
How are
I think that's
you?
good.
Are you good?